Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of We Happy Few. I played it on the Xbox One. It's also available on the PS4 and PC. So when it comes to the story, I'm not going to delve too deep into the story itself. I'm going to talk a bit more about the world. That being said, I really enjoyed the story. So just take that into account because I don't want to spoil anything of the story. I want it to be fully experienced. So We Happy Few takes place in this weird version of London that seems to be very 70s oriented. It might actually be the 70s. It's kind of hard to say. I say the 70s because like the color schemes, the aesthetics, the way people dress, all of that feels very 70s. It's very much that vibe, maybe late 60s even. And there's always this reference to a war throughout the game, but the thing is, it's like, it's not actually World War II. It feels kind of like World War II, but it really wasn't. And obviously that war has led to this weird and unique world that the game takes place in, and I really found it interesting and kind of harrowing, and just, I mean, the commentary of it was very important, especially in modern day society, I think. Specifically, the commentary around the drug Joy and the fact that, like, Joy is a huge deal. Joy basically makes you forget your memories, and it paints the world in this weird way. It makes you hallucinate and see the world in this bright, colorful way. I mean, people who are on it walk in a weird and unique way. They're like, put their arms up like this while they walk. It's freaking weird. But it's this unique element to the game that adds a deep layer of social commentary, especially in modern times when like people are all on pills and shit for all sorts of things. There's definitely commentary on mental illness and medication and things like that, and like a stigma around such things. And I think that was really cool, and I just enjoyed the fact that they were tackling subjects like that. Also, again, the story itself was really cool and enjoyable. It really got me engaged. As for the audio, I really enjoyed the audio in this game. I think the majority of the voiceover work is very well done. The worst it gets is what I would call good voiceover work, so that's very obviously a good thing. It's a good thing because obviously shit voiceover work can drag everything down. On top of that, I like the soundtrack, I like the ambient noises, and I've gotta say the overall sound design is very well done. This is a game where you can be stealth or you can go pretty hard if you'd like to. So obviously when you're going stealth, audio is super important, and this game does a good job with that. As for the gameplay, it really surprised me when this game opened up into an open world survival game. Okay, maybe not necessarily that fact. Well, the survival aspect, yes. The open world, not so much. The depth of the open world and the survival elements, that did surprise me. I've seen interviews with people who had played it in advance, and they were like, yeah, it opened up into an open world game, and that was not what I was expecting. But the depth of that was what I was not expecting. I was not prepared for that depth when I started playing the game. The world is so much bigger than I was expecting. There are so many side quests. There's just so much to do that I honestly got distracted. I wasted a couple days worth of play just screwing around with side quests and whatnot. I had to really focus up and work on the story later. Like I mentioned in the audio portion, you can sneak around or you can go full out. There was a lot of melee if you wanted to, and it works very well. Like if you hit people in the body, then it does less damage, but if you aim for that head and you hit them in the head, you're gonna knock them out quicker. Well, not knockout, kill. There are some knockout weapons. That's another cool thing that I wasn't really prepared for. It's not just full kill. You can knock people out or kill them. That's up to you. You can sneak around and take them down quietly. You can just go nuts and try and bludgeon everyone. You can do stuff like that. But on top of that, you have to do survival things like make sure you're clothed, you're fed, you sleep, you deal with like your hydration, you feel sick, etc. You deal with all of that. You can gather plants to help with that. You can find other supplies, make medicines, crafting. All of that stuff is in there, and I really was not prepared for it. And I did like it because it was simplified. Once again, I prefer that. I find most survival games just way too crazy, and they just go way too hard with it, and I don't know, that doesn't appeal to me. I like some survival elements, just not the insane ones. I don't like that to be too in-depth and become overwhelming. And I don't think that We Happy Few hit that point. It has a good amount of those elements, but not enough to make you go, oh god, this is just too much. It's also got RPG elements. They're a little lighter than I was expecting when they introduced them, but it's fine. It still works very well. One thing I will say when you're stealthing that was kind of annoying is there's only certain bushes or plants or whatever that you can hide in, and the reason that's a complaint, because other games do that, the reason it's a complaint in this game is that there's plenty of other bushes and plants that are just as tall that you can't hide in. It's weird like that, kind of annoying at times. It definitely got me in trouble a few times. The whole joy that I mentioned earlier comes into gameplay as well, because if you're not on joy, while you can walk around areas where people are on joy, there are enemies that can detect that you aren't on joy, and that can be a huge problem. But you gotta be careful because you don't want to take too much joy, because then you can lose track of what you're trying to do. It also makes it worse when you come off of joy, because there is the whole joy withdrawal thing. So I thought doing that was a very interesting gameplay element, and I'm sure there's also plenty of social commentary attached to that. Lastly, the controls. I didn't run into any problems with the controls. There are a couple of choices that I found weird when it came to the controls. What I found weird was that climbing ladders was a button prompt rather than just running up, and I guess it's not so much controls as when you do hit the button to climb up a ladder, it kicks you into a quick loading screen and then into wherever you were climbing. I found that weird, but I also did find the choice to use like a button prompt for that strange. We Happy Few also does the thing that kind of annoys me, a lot of games do. Rather than press the button, it's hold the button. I find that vaguely annoying. It's not like horrible. I don't love it though. Overall, I didn't have any problems with aiming or anything like that, or at least any major problems, so no complaints there. Lastly, the visuals. I was really impressed with the visuals of this game. I like the art style they chose because it's just very unique. It is obviously very cartoony, and they had to go an extra level though, and that's what impressed me. Like, they didn't just go a couple levels deep, they actually went like 3 levels deep when you think about the art style, because you've got the way the world looks when you're on joy, which is very colorful, very stereotypical 70s, late 60s vibe. But then you've got when you're off joy and everything, like the reality of the world sets in, it's pretty shitty. It looks great, but the world itself is shitty. You know? And then there's the world, how it looks when you're withdrawing from joy, and it's even worse than it is when you're just straight up not on joy. So the fact that they went 3 layers deep with that, I thought was really cool. I liked it. Just overall, I liked the graphics and the visuals of this game. So to wrap this up, honestly, I didn't know if We Happy Few was going to be worth the wait based on like all the hype around it from the trailers and whatnot, but I've got to say it absolutely was. It handles some heavy topics, and it mixes it in this colorful world that you want to know more about and want to explore. To put it simply, I recommend this game. I really do. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you let me know if you were ever hyped for this game? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one.